Okay, in this video, I'm going to do a deep dive in some of the theories that are going around about what happened to David. Now, I know a lot of people like to say, oh, you just talk about Reddit comments. Okay, I just did a video breakdown of basically somebody that's very skilled in forensic analysis about some of the backstory of what happened with Celeste's body. Go and check that video out if you want me to do more of an interview breakdown. But this video is going to be very firmly grounded in some Reddit theories that are currently going around. And some of the biggest questions surrounding the David case have still gone unanswered. And a lot of people are throwing their theories out there. And I think it's really valuable to be able to see what the public are thinking, what the theories are, and what the biggest kind of outstanding questions are in this case, just so that we can fully understand what's going on and have an expectation of what's to come in future. So in this video, a couple of the biggest questions that have been popping off, all right? Why did David keep the body of Celeste? Why did he keep the body? Why did he keep it for so long? Why didn't he run away and try and flee? Why didn't he try and flee the country? As soon as his car got towed, he could have got the hell out of America and gone to Dubai or Algeria, any number of countries that don't have these extradition treaties with the United States. He could have gone to any of those. And a lot of people have been wondering, will David ever just come clean and admit what he did? Will he ever just open up, let everybody know what happened, let everybody know what went down? And I don't know. I honestly don't know. I would like to get an understanding of these questions. And I want to know what you guys think, right? The Redditors, the commenters, the watchers, the viewers, everybody in this community. I want to know what you guys think because I think your opinions are valuable. I don't think my opinion is worth any more than anyone else that's been following this case. And I really want to know what everybody thinks on these topics. So I found a few threads that are asking some of the biggest questions that I still have about this case. And let's get into them, right? So this first one I thought was interesting. Someone posted, I think I knew why David kept her in the trunk for so long. They said, so I was thinking, why did David keep her body in the trunk for so long? And what was the plan? I think he wanted the body to be decomposed so badly that he could have used the fire pit or the burn cage that he had to make the rest, to burn the rest of the body, making it easier to get rid of, and explain why the 3 fingers were missing. He wanted to see if the fire pit would actually burn the decomposed body. Just my opinion. What are your opinions? Why would he keep her in the car for so long? This is a really interesting topic. I personally think I could believe that theory, but I actually think that David, I think he miscalculated. I think that maybe this was a crime in the heat of the moment. He wasn't necessarily expecting things to go this far. I think then when she was dead in his house, he panicked. And I think he had very last minute, hatched this plan. He had to go away. I think David was somebody that didn't realize that his touring schedule and his business schedule was actually not as important as getting rid of this body. I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying that he should have, would have, whatever. But I think that he actually either had an opinion so high of himself, or he basically simply felt like, I don't have time. I just don't have time to dispose of this body. I got to go on my tour. That's more important. Okay, he might have found out the hard way, but that's my theory, is that he was genuinely like, oh, I'll do it later. I got to go on tour. I'll come back and I'll get rid of. I got the body. It's too hard. I think it was like got to the point. It was like, this is too hard. Got the chainsaw, started cutting up the body. Could have cut up the body into smaller pieces. I think it was probably got through the arms and legs. Said, this is too hard. This is too much. I can't keep going. This is disgusting. This is shocking. Fucked up. Like, I can't keep going. I'm going to have to just put her away. I can't deal with this. I think that's what happened, okay? But let's see what other people said. People said, I think he's similar to a child that broke something valuable, then hid it from his mom under his bed, then put it out of his mind, even though he knew his mom would eventually clean his room and find it. Seriously, I think his adult development was arrested from poor parenting, and if a problem isn't something you can literally see or smell in the moment, it ceases to exist. People saying, yep, laziness, arrested development, and ADHD. He long time fantasized about committing murder tied to a romance plot. He finally had the right triggers to do it. Celeste threatening to reveal their illegal relationship and his new album release. Then he made a dumb, sloppy next step decision. Body in the trunk, ordering a bird cage that would have attracted attention in California. He was never mentally capable of handling this well, and once the body was out of sight, his motivation and sense of urgency to handle it faded. Instead, he focused his attention on Fortnite, music, influencer friends, and other things that give his brain easy, happy chemicals. I agree with that comment, and I would just add to it, tour, album, promotion, interviews. He had a bunch of other stuff going on, and he probably... It sounds crazy. He probably forgot what he did a couple of times. He was probably on stage having fun, probably just forgot for it, and then oh shit, there's a body in my car. That's what I think happened. Okay. So someone says 1, lazy, 2, doesn't understand science, 3, lazy, 4, his sense of smell doesn't work, 5, lazy. To be clear, he managed to do online high school quickly and graduated quickly. I don't know how hard it is to do that, so I don't think he's a complete imbecile, but he's not somebody with street smarts. I'm going through an interview where he details his homeschooling, and this 20-year-old was sheltered big time. Okay, it says only 2 fingers were missing, not 3. Also, the burn cage was never used and still unopened. He could have planned to test the burn cage using the severed fingers, but since he didn't, that doesn't really line up, since he didn't need to cut them off that far in advance. If that was his plan, this just creates a new problem. Okay. It says, I really think he was hoping for the Casey Anthony defense, where the body's so decomposed that the cause of death couldn't be determined, thus he couldn't be blamed. The Casey Anthony case occurred when David was young. But the relevance of the case and her getting away with murder is still brought up today. Unlike Kaylee, David is not Celeste isn't David's daughter. She was his illegal lover. That motive is hard to ignore or think it couldn't be possible, like when a mother murders a child. He also doesn't have Jose bias to concoct some conspiracy about what really happened out of thin air to create reasonable doubt. Jose blamed it on Casey's dad, poor man, or a fool guy to blame it on, because in order for his defense team to blame it on someone else, they would have to pin it on one of his friends, but his friends are the witnesses who have already been investigated by the police, so trying to blame it on a random stranger would not work because Bozo put her in his own car. I think they wanted someone else to move it while they were on tour and out of state, but they didn't for some reason. Weird he would take David finger but leave the shush tattoo, even though he has a matching one that was fading or might have been removed. Okay, so let's move on to the next question that I wanted to ask. Okay, we don't need to hear what everyone has to say, but this one is interesting. It says, why do you think he didn't try and run? Sorry if this was already asked, but obviously I wanted him to be caught. He's a total sicko, deserves to rot in jail forever, but he must have known that once the body was discovered, he was cooked. He was out for months after it was discovered, and with all the photos of them together, witnesses, self-snitching and songs, and the online paper trail, he must have known an arrest was imminent. He had the money and clearly the ability to obtain false documents, as he had obtained them for Celeste, at least an idea as far as I'm aware. It's crazy for me to think he was just chilling in an LA house waiting for things to blow over. Facts, right? So it says his dad works in the legal field, not an attorney, has worked for big firms. He's probably convinced that they would find a way to work it out with David's fame and the dad's legal connections. I also don't think he was honest with his family or attorneys about what happened, so they were probably feeding his delusions. I also think he forgot about his iCloud and underestimated how much data our phones truly hold. I think he was worried about it, but since months had passed without a real update, he might have felt they had nothing on him. Says that's just so crazy to me. Like, even if his lawyers didn't know everything, he knew he killed her. He knew he was in an illegal and PDF relationship with Celeste. He knew she was stuffed in pieces in the trunk of his car yards away from his house. It's unfathomable that he would not know that his time was coming after they found her. Only thing I can think of is that he was just so heavily surveilled and saw no way to escape. I personally agree. I feel like, no, I don't agree, but like, I feel like it's crazy. Like, why didn't he leave the country? I wonder if he started thinking after a few weeks, a few months of not being arrested, like, I'm going to beat this shit. Like, they ain't really got nothing. That's why the LAPD were kind of smart to keep a lot of that information away from the public, because he might have fled. Maybe he would have fled if he found out, oh shit, they got blood in the garage. I've not been arrested. They got this, they got the ID. Yeah, I'm going to get out of here. I wonder if that's why. I can't fathom why he didn't escape. Honestly, I can't fathom it. Or like, you know, try and cross the border in Mexico, yada, 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 all that kind of stuff. But anyway. Says his attorneys were likely advising him throughout, and I'm sure LAPD was watching him also. Also, 3 grand juries were secret, and very limited information about an upcoming arrest was likely to be obtained by David's attorneys. Maybe he had his attorneys had no idea how much evidence they'd gathered, and he was wiretapped for a year for him to be in fear of imminent arrest. I would guess suicide or an OD would have happened rather than him trying to flee. I'm very curious if he'll take a plea to avoid the DP, death penalty, or have some hope of parole in the future decades. He's only 21. If what he's done wasn't so heinous, I would feel sad for the wreck his life is coming, but alas, I think he's cooked. Cannot imagine a not guilty verdict in this case. I'm more surprised he didn't himself when he had the chance. I honestly thought that's what would happen. But it says he's a narcissist. Doing that was never on the cards. Okay, interesting. It says LAPD had him under observation the whole time, so if he'd have tried to board a flight to Dubai, they might have just said, all right, it's time, we'll arrest him now. But they took their time. The LAPD were probably shocked he didn't try and escape. They were probably thinking, bro, like, we was ready to catch this guy at the airport. It says he was 20 when he did this. He's mentally still a child, though, in my opinion. I don't think he could bear to leave his parents or family. All told, I think he was quite sentimental to them. This is from his old song on 2024, My House Is Not Home. He said, tell my mother I'm sorry, tell my father just the same, tell my sister that her brother might as well have gone insane. Is there space for me in Houston because it's spacious in LA, where the grass is always greener and the world can scream my name? Says, I'm not excusing his actions. I just want to figure out his mindset. His parents are the ones, though, who took away any IRL socialization from him since grade 7. He was homeschooled and did online school for 6 years. Okay. It says there's really nowhere to run. Maybe he believes she was so decomposed that the police couldn't figure out she was murdered. The media certainly made it seem like that was true. It said he's lazy and arrogant. He has no follow through, but apparently they had him tapped. So if he would have tried to run, it wouldn't have worked. So he was being tracked. That's probably why he didn't try and run, because he was being so closely tracked. Now, some people are saying David never wanted to be caught. I had a theory at one point in time that maybe David wanted to be caught and he wanted people to catch up with him. But ultimately, I do feel that in the end, it was also haphazard, that it's just like, I think this was just a mess. So someone said David never wanted to be caught. I hate seeing all these theories about how he plotted all the stuff out just to get caught. He never wanted to get caught. His music career was just taking off insanely, and that's all he clearly cared about: money, fame, and attention. Now, with that being said, I do believe two things can be true at once. All the songs correlating to her murder, the playing the invisible string theory 2 days after the murder, the dates lining up with her birthday, the song with her name, etc. That was all 10,000% intentional, so she would be happy and stay quiet. He knew she could ruin his career with one receipt of anything, and he was scared. So he tried to keep her happy and be quiet. So with all that being said, I hope he gets the death penalty, because I know he doesn't want that rot. He was saying, I think these people are under a misunderstanding that if someone commits a murder, it also means they're skilled at hiding it. It doesn't take skill to not leave the victim's body in your own car. That's like the bare effing minimum. Yeah, I feel you. Honestly, think he was truly that arrogant that you wouldn't believe that he would got caught. That little bit of fame got to him. I believe that for sure. I think he was really arrogant, and he felt like he had the Midas touch. He had this shit on lockdown. Billion streams. All the Hello Kitty fans going crazy. I think he thought he worked this shit out, and he thought he could work anything. I got this. I'm a genius. That's what he thought. So exactly, it was easy for him to trick the 11-year-old, and he thought it would be easy to con the rest of the world too. He's dealing with adults now. Right? People saying, I personally think he was lazy, probably had a lot of people around all the time, a lot of meetings planned, probably ended up not knowing what to do with the body once he dismembered it. Of course, he was arrogant, but I also see him as so childish. He'd simply get overwhelmed by the tasks and decide to deflect from it as long as possible. He procrastinated, okay? He just couldn't be bothered to get the job done, rather work on the album. This was pressing. This was top of your to-do list to get rid of this body. It's crazy, right? He thought no one would notice or care about a missing runaway from a broken home, and thank fuck he was mistaken. That's facts. Someone said, very well said. The only thing I disagree with is I think he should rot in prison for a good long while with nothing. He clearly hated being homeschooled, hated the isolation. He seems like the type that was terminally online to avoid any actual self-reflection or internal work. Everything was a distraction for him. Sitting in a cell with nothing but his mind replaying every single detail of where he effed up over and over and over again. Seems like a nice outcome for me personally. No friends, no parties, no drugs, no escape. Okay. People saying, right, it makes no sense for people to keep throwing that out there, especially since we now know why he killed her. Who the F would actually want to get caught killing somebody, especially knowing the ramifications? This ain't a movie. To be honest, I think it was really just he thought he wouldn't get caught. He got away with publicly grooming Celeste. Facts, he had her on stream, got away with everything. Dude probably thought he'd be able to just get away with this too. We know he was just also really stupid, okay? I did think there was a little bit of credence to the idea that he'd left all these clues and he wanted to be found, like some of these self-snitching gangster rappers, but clearly not. Clearly, he is a doofus, okay? It says, do you guys think that David will ever take accountability for what he did to her? Do you guys think he'll eventually tell the truth and admit what he did, or who helped him? This just came to my mind. At the same time, he looks careless in those new sketches from the courthouse. I doubt it would be anytime soon. I think he will. I think he'll be found guilty. I think he'll go quiet for a couple of years, and then he might start doing little interviews, written interviews, phone interviews. I think give him a guilty verdict in 2 years, I think he'll open up on some reverse OJ shit. Like, yeah, this is how I did it. If I did it, I did it. This is how I did it. That's what I think, but a lot of people aren't going to agree with that. People saying I don't. He's a narcissistic psychopath. He'll blame it on Victoria Mendez or say Atami was setting him up. Says, part of me wonders if he will years down the line. Like, once he gets bored in jail, he might start talking for attention, especially once a lot of the media hype around this case dies down and he realizes nobody cares about him. I see him trying for a book deal if they let him, maybe just for the chance to do jail interviews once he has nothing else to do. I'm not in a weird way, but like I would love to see him actually write a book and just be like, yeah, this is it. Yeah, I was in a relationship. Yeah, I fell in love with this minor. just for him to just keep it real. Tell us what happened. Tell us what happened. Tell us why you thought this was a good idea. It will happen eventually. I don't think this guy will go to his grave without opening up, because he'll probably get a guilty verdict, lose his appeal, and then just feel like, you know what, be a relief. I'm going to just say it how it is. So he says, no, I don't think he has the capacity to feel empathy for anyone but himself. The only time he will apologize is when he's been sentenced, and even then it'll be a sorry I got caught. He's a freak devoid of humanity or emotion. Unless they threaten him with the death penalty, and then maybe he might admit things out of fear. Probably will for a plea deal. No idea. Maybe he's proud of it. Nothing would surprise me. Interesting. Okay. So, a lot of people are asking how the cops knew that David allegedly stood by while Celeste bled out. Stand by while she bleed out. That was what was in the paperwork. It says, hello. So I was thinking about how the prosecution wants to prove that Burke, after stabbing Celeste, did watch her die and stand by. The prosecution said knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career as she had threatened, very soon after her arrival at his home, defendant stabbed the victim to death multiple times and stood by while she bled out. I was thinking they could do what the prosecution did with Alex Murdaugh. I did not follow the Murdaugh trial very closely, but I've watched some testimony of an expert explaining Alex Murdaugh's movements. Alex Murdaugh claimed a lot of stuff like sleeping at a certain time, waking up at a certain time, taking a shower, walking. When I remember correctly, the experts drew conclusions about his movements with the help of an app running in the background of a phone. Now, that was some years ago. Maybe technology's advanced, even easier to see when someone that had his phone on him was moving around or standing still. I don't remember what impact the expert had on the trial, but I thought it was scary that apps record your lifestyle. I think David might have been stupid enough to carry his phone with him. Being online and all that stuff's trackable. Also, he did send fake messages. So they're basically saying, could they have used the Wi-Fi to track that his phone was still in the house? That is absolutely genius. That is absolute genius. I think that there's no other explanation. If they could prove that anyone else is in the house, they're going to be hauled in for questioning. Was probably David alone in the house. And probably, maybe they did track his cell phone, was pinging either on the Wi-Fi or the cell tower in the property. And I wonder if that's actually a good explanation. It says they won't be able to prove what he was watching because that would require tracking his eye movements. Unless he was on a Zoom call or something at the time, they don't have the data. That part is mostly just a rhetorical flourish anyway. The point of emphasizing he stood by while she bled out is that it supports premeditation. Even in an attack that started as a so-called crime of passion, if someone impulsively harms another person but then could render aid to the victim and doesn't, the crime can then become first-degree murder. Killers get a certain amount of leniency for impulsive acts that will be beyond conscious planning and thought, like the classic example of someone who walks in on their spouse in bed with someone else and fires a gun without thinking. However, juries may determine that the crime became premeditated the moment the killer had the chance to attempt to stop the victim from dying and didn't. So all they actually need to prove is that there was a window of time between stabbing and Celeste's death during which David could have rendered aid and didn't. They could establish this with testimony from the medical examiner and expert witnesses regarding how long it would take for a person to die from those injuries, whether David was watching her die or playing Fortnite or on the toilet. If there was a window of time when he could have attempted to stop her dying and he consciously chose not to do that, they have premeditation if the jury agrees. So the preliminary brief said that he stood by while she bled out. People are inferring the word watch. That wasn't said. So some people are saying they can prove that he stabbed her and they can prove that he didn't call 911. You can deduce that she bled out and he allowed it, right? What's this?
Want to see something cool? Way too many of you think you want my thoughts on the Discord privacy issue. Okay, but you're not going to like it. But before I do, I want you to take a moment and think about what's in your hand. No, the other one, your phone. We'll use mine as an example. A Galaxy class that's like 3 models out of date now. Let's take an inventory, shall we? 4 cameras, at least one of which is always facing up. Microphones, 3 radio transmitters, 4 receivers, including GPS accurate to which room I'm in. And all of that is always on.
Ooh, GPS accurate to which room you're in. Might be cooked.
You can't take the battery out of this, and off is a nebulous wibbly-wobbly concept when it comes to most cell phones. Connected to a computer powerful enough to navigate from here to Mars, all running software from dozens of different companies that you don't get to control or even really understand. In 3 clicks, I'm broadcasting with no staff, oversight, or tape delay to more people than every TV station in the city I grew up in combined. I wear a stupid smartwatch, so add in a level of biometric monitoring smart enough to not only know when I'm getting laid, but who it was with and how good it was.
Do you think David wore an Apple Watch? Smartwatch, whoop.
Buddy thought it was a great idea to automatically share his workout progress until the day he set a new PR by jerking a 5K in the shower. You paid paid for one of these, carry it with you everywhere you go, and tell it all of your secrets. And you think you have privacy? They told us to never forget 9/11, but nobody ever talks about October 26th. It took 45 days from when the terrorists attacked to when they won. And that was just the big one. Your privacy and autonomy has been chipped away for decades by a few magic phrases. Whenever you hear someone use the words national security or officer safety, you need to read the fucking fine print, because those are the things that will tangibly impact your life on the day-to-day. Because I remember when you could tell the difference between cops, soldiers, and prison guards. Let me adapt that to a vernacular you're familiar with. Y'all look alike to me. Most of you watching this haven't had any real degree of privacy in your lifetime, and you sure as hell don't have any now. In 1755, my buddy Benji wrote, "Those who would give up a little liberty to preserve a temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." If he saw the current state of the American experiment, he'd be on television shitting kittens, wondering what we were thinking and how we took a brand new nation from no taxation without representation to vox pecuniae and lobbyist legislation. And you think you have privacy? My Discord is strictly, ferociously, rabidly locked at 18 and up. That rule is enforced by a team of draconian thugs who hate children. It's an adult environment where we talk about all manner of things that are absolutely positively not appropriate for children or those with similarly functioning minds. There's tons of safe places on the internet for kids. My shop isn't meant to be one of them. I don't want a safe space. I want to blow shit up, play with
All right, we get the gist, okay? Your phone's snitching on you the whole time. Now, that was really, really interesting. So the next thing I want to just point out, a lot of people have been asking, how do you think David's holding up behind bars, right? I heard the man ain't showering like a week or so, probably been days since he had last access to fresh air. What do you guys think he's been eating too? I know the flies are attracted to him by now. People saying hopefully the cooks are spitting in his food. Hopefully the other inmates are stealing his tray. The flies are eating it, don't worry. Not well. The guy was chronically online. Being in jail with nothing to do but stare at the wall is a brutal dopamine detox for him. He'll have to live with demons of actually facing what he did with Celeste. That's what I was thinking, and I love that for him, right? 5'4", 120 pounds, he's cooked food, right? He's cooked, all right? So there was another post going around, and I agree with this post. This was a courtroom sketch. It said that jail is really aging him faster than milk. He looked like shit. And he looked almost, I don't know if he was just kind of ashy or like had some acne, but his face, I would say his face and his head looked a bit bumpy. Maybe he got some acne from the jailhouse pillow. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Dig That one time, if you know that lyric. We know about being in jail and you feel like the pillow's giving you spots. He might be getting acne from the jailhouse pillow. Who knows? Maybe he did. He was looking at, his face was just looking a bit rough to me. Like some little, even though just some little bumps, little marks, like this type of shit. I see that in person when I see him. And when I see him, I thought he looked in bad shape. He had a haircut. His hair was looking shorter. But I was thinking, he's not looking too good. To be honest with you, he's not looking too good. So I could see he was definitely looking older. He was looking like he'd aged a few years since the last time I see him in court. And I would say, if you told me he'd been slapped around and beaten up, I would believe you. That's what I'll say. All right. I'm not going to say he definitely got beaten up or he got attacked, maybe hurt himself, but he was looking, his face was looking almost, you can see it in here. His face was looking a bit bumpy, little marks on his neck and his head. He was looking like he was having some issues. All right. People saying he's getting old fast. That's what stress does to you. I wish we got a real photo of him though. It's crazy to think, bro. Like you guys, I see him in the flesh of my eyes. I can only describe it to you, but I see, it's honestly, going to the courthouse has been actually a mind-blowing experience because I think having covered a lot of like criminal cases and legal cases and things like that, I would say that it's very easy to sort of get in this mindset of feeling very separated. Like someone's in jail and they've committed a murder. It's like, as somebody that's in society, I'm outside living my life. Not right now, but like I'm outside living my life. I have freedom. All right. I've not sacrificed my freedom by doing a crime. But it's like people that commit crimes, they get plucked out of society and just sent over just separately, right? And it's like they almost disappear. You don't see them, hear from them. You do hear, you know, my homie called me from jail today, but like they're separate. And so going to court and seeing David in the flesh and being like, oh, he's still a real guy that's still breathing. He's still out here going back and forth, walking out that doorway to wherever he has to go and living his life trying to get through this. And I'm over here 10 feet away from him, watching the shit, going back to my crib, chilling, eating nice food, right? You know what I'm saying? Having a good life, doing things that David will never do again. It's so interesting. Someone's saying, I think it's silly to deduce this from a court sketch. Very juvenile. And saying OP is a minor obsessed with this case. But honestly, unlucky to you guys that are hating on the poster of this, because I can corroborate that actually I saw him in the flesh with my eyes, and they're absolutely right. He did look miserable. His hair was looking shorter, but it was looking weaker and thinner. It wasn't looking as strong and voluminous as it was before. They shaded grey. He looked old. He looked like he'd aged by years. This commenter, this post is 100% true, and I saw it with my own eyes. Okay, so There's a few other interesting questions that have been asked and a few bits of info that I'll show you that are going around. It says, why haven't they released Celeste's alleged threatening text? I was wondering this. I've been thrown down a rabbit hole with this case, and I'm curious, why didn't the police release those texts from Celeste where she allegedly threatened his career? Is there a reason they're keeping it hidden on what she specifically said? I'm only wondering because they released her text when she said to David all they do is lay around and have sex, but she wanted more for herself. Why was that text okay to tell the public, but the other ones are? That's a very, very good question. It says because it's part of evidence that they can't release. Why is that question? Yeah, why? Yeah, why is that part of evidence that they can't release? Why? I think perhaps the reason for that, I mean, for what reason should they? The case isn't for entertainment. I think I'll keep it real. I'll just give you my theory and we'll move on. I think the reason they haven't released that text is because it might make Celeste look bad. Not that she deserved this, but I think it might make her look vindictive. She might have been threatening him she might have been talking crazy. She might have been chewing him out, making fun of him, calling him a PDF, saying, you a bitch, I'm going to expose you, don't make me expose. It might make her look unsympathetic to some people, to maybe some jurors, maybe to some people in the public. And maybe they've said, look, we're not going to release that. We're going to release the ones that paint the picture that we want it to. Not that they're falsifying anything, but it's like they're going to paint a picture in a certain way so that the jury sympathizes. That text that they did release is proof, admission that their relationship was sexual. Crime prove it. That's evidence of a crime. There you go, evidence of a crime. So it's not a crime to threaten to expose him. The context that they're in a relationship that was adult in nature is proven by the other message. So maybe they just felt like when she's whiling out being vindictive, basically, also it gives the motive, but also it's like, maybe we're not ready to show that right now. Okay, David knows what those messages say. So there you go. So the next thing that I wanted to show you guys, just things that these are questions that are people asking, okay? Some of the biggest questions. And I'm nervous to say this, okay, because I did see David's lawyer in court. I saw Blair Burke. I locked eyes with her. I feel like she stared me down a little bit. I cracked a little smile at the end. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it was a little smirk. Look, all right, I don't have a problem with her, but also like her track record, she's definitely defended some of the most sort of nefarious figures in the culture, especially when it comes to Hollywood, okay? Now, she's doing her job as a defense lawyer. I know some people were upset that I went off at J-Oma for defending David, and a lot of people were like, you're so dumb, like, that's his job, he's a defense lawyer. Yeah, I get that, but also it's like, as a human being, you can pick and choose what you want to be associated with. Me, personally, I don't take gambling ads, all right? I went to Vegas recently. I did a little bit of gambling for fun. I had my limits, gambled my money, was up, was down, was up, was down, lost my money, whatever. It was fun. Right, I saw that as I was paying for entertainment. But I've got relatives that have lost everything to gambling, people that have thrown their lives away, people that have crashed out and gone to prison over gambling and an addiction to gambling, losing everything, destroying families. I don't want to promote gambling, okay? I just don't want to do it. So you can make a choice, just like you could make a choice to not represent Harvey Weinstein. So they're saying, how does Blair Burke see herself as a feminist? Are you serious? And this was an old headline. It said, as a feminist, this was her being interviewed. She said, as a feminist, I'm proud of what I'm doing, Harvey Weinstein's defense attorney said, right? Said, if it weren't bad enough, she defended other high-profile R-words and men who've been accused of disgusting crimes against women. She's now defending the PDF murderer who savagely dismembered a little girl after years of grooming an essay. Hey, Blair Burke, if you're out there, could you do me a favor and sit the F down? Should I tell her that next time I see her? No, hell no, I'll get kicked out of the court. Feminist my ass, she's disgusting. And before you say that's her job, I am well aware, but some of us have morals and integrity. There's no amount of money you could pay me to defend that subhuman monster creep. I hope Blair's conscience doesn't let this one slide. If it doesn't bother her, she's likely a sociopath. Justice for Celeste. Now look, I had a strong prediction that I thought that David's legal team were going to drop him soon because all of the evidence that came out, I don't think they were ready for that. But I see Blair Burke. I see her there with David. I see him. I see him on my own. These eyes, these peepers, right? I see it. And seemed like she was sticking with him for the next court date. They're waiting for another 30 terabytes of information. That could be so damning that maybe Blair Burke says, you know what, I'm going to skip. But she defended Harvey Weinstein to the bitter end. So that is what it is, okay? Now, I wouldn't say she's disgusting. I would say it's a little bit morally dubious, and I would definitely be curious to know more of her reasoning for making these decisions. But saying, yeah. It says, was the same in the Brian Koberger case. His lawyer, Ann Taylor, has 4 daughters, yet she was quite okay defending that psychopath. Hot take, even the biggest scumbags on earth still deserve a fair trial with a proper attorney. That's fair. That's honestly, that is actually one of the fairest and most honest explanations of this. Okay. He deserves, as anyone deserves, a defense. If I was found with a dead person in the trunk of my car and I genuinely had nothing to do with it, but it looked real bad, like it looked bad on David, you know, you got to allow me. I might be giving Blair Burke a call, or I might be giving someone else a call. Obviously, I would never do that, but it's just like her lawyer. She's a lawyer. Her job is to defend no matter what the person did. But referring to herself as a feminist is not part of the job. She trolling with that one. People saying, yeah, she lied. All right. She's a respectable defense attorney that's extremely expensive to hire. Let her be her. She's doing her job without her trying the case and putting her all into it. David could appeal and walk. We need competent counsel. Just relax. The prosecution have been working hard to present their case to the court. She graduated from Harvard Law School. Being a defense attorney means you believe in upholding the Constitution and defending individuals' rights. If no one defends him, then what? Someone has to do it, and she's not doing it for free. Point is, she isn't a feminist to begin with. Oh, hot damn, okay? So there's a few other things going on, but I think I'm gonna talk about those in another video because I had a bunch of links of just other random stuff that I had seen, but I would say that I think it would be better to do those in a separate video, just because these aren't really questions; these are more just like random things that have come up. So I'm gonna put those in another video. And wrap it up here. So look, that was really me responding to kind of the biggest questions about the David case that is still outstanding. And you know, there are some big questions. You know, there's more questions that I would like to see answered. I would like to know what David said to his friends when he lied to them all about what was going on. I would like to know what he said specifically to Asia and Neo and the others that would have been aware of Celeste's presence. I'd like to know who else was around when Celeste was around and who else saw her. What was his team, his management? What were their excuses? And most importantly of all, I would like to know what David's parents thought of it, because Celeste met them. That's a big one. Okay, and when I find the answers to that, I'll be sure to let you know. Who knows, might see David's parents in court. All right, and if I do, I'll let you guys know. I thought I might have seen his dad. I see someone in the distance. I was like, that looks like it could be David Burke, but the way they were dressed made me think maybe it wasn't them. But I didn't get a chance to see them. It was way across down the hall on the other side of the room to me. And then when I got into the courtroom where I was sat, I couldn't really see anyone. I was frontline, all right? I think I was second row, actually. But yeah, I couldn't really take in the whole surroundings, but it was a very interesting experience. But anyway, I'll be back very soon with some more updates. That's my last video of the day. We cranked it out today, gang. All right, I'm trying to go overdrive, give you loads of different stories. Oh, we're tired of hearing about David. Okay, well, look, here's 2 David videos, 2 Chud videos, and I might throw you a Folio video in there or something else, okay? So we're really just trying to broaden our horizons and cover a lot of things that are important. This David story is perhaps the most important thing going on in the culture right now, at least for me. And is what it is. Okay, so catch you guys next video. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it, gang. Bye.